Hello everyone! I hope you all had an excellent weekend. Now, this next game comes as a suggestion from a subscriber, Emmanuel Buonamici, and I decided to add a print screen of this suggestion as it's quite a long suggestion. So I do hope you really enjoyed this game, as it's one of the weirder games you'll ever see, and you'll see what I mean by the title. And the move played really, I mean, it probably does fit in the line of the French that was played, but even on the chessgames.com official page, Grandmaster Raymond Keane also states that this move kind of only serves the purpose to enrage the beast that is Kasparov. But you'll see what I mean by this. The game is played in 1995 in Horgen, Switzerland, and it's a round robin of 10 of the highest rated players of that time. But I will show you who the players were and the final standings after I show you this game. So let's see it. It's Garry Kasparov with the white pieces against Vassily Ivanchuk, and I do owe you a Vassily Ivanchuk game as it was his birthday and I didn't show any game by Ivanchuk on his birthday. So Kasparov opens with e4. We have e6, d4, we have d5, so the French defense, and knight to c3. Bishop to b4, the Winawer variation. We have e5, the advanced variation, and here probably 90% of the time when you play e5 against someone, they will probably respond with c5, and then you can go a3, and they can decide whether they want to capture the knight or maybe go back with the bishop. But in this game, a very interesting variation, so maybe those of you who enjoy the French, I'm not one of those people, can see what happens if black decides to play b6. Kasparov continued the regular a3, and this is the move that titles this video. Here you probably want to play bishop captures on c3. That's basically the whole idea. Another thing you could do is play bishop back to e7. Maybe you don't want to capture, maybe you want to lead the game in a different direction. But here Ivanchuk plays bishop all the way to f8. And this is what even Grandmaster Raymond Keane says, that this is a move that is made to to enrage Kasparov. So Kasparov continues knight to f3. We have knight to e7. So now you can see that if you retreated with the bishop to e7, you would kind of have to figure out how to develop this knight. Definitely not like this. Kasparov plays h4. He wants to meet knight g6 with h5. So that's black's position is going to be a bit cramped due to this weird formation Ivanchuk is playing. We have h6 and now h5, not even allowing knight to come to g6. a5, bishop to b5 check. Ivanchuk blocks with c6, and this is a move where Kasparov probably did get a little bit enraged by that silly retreat Ivanchuk made by the move bishop to f8. Here you want to go back, bishop to d3 or bishop to e2, because later Ivanchuk will use this massive pawn chain to harass this bishop and expand on the queen side. Bishop to a4 by Kasparov. We have knight to d7, knight to e2. We have b5 now, kicking the bishop back, bishop to b3, and now c5. So you can see Ivanchuk created this massive pawn chain on the queen side. c3. Making some room for the bishop on c2, knight to c6, we have castles by Kasparov, and queen to c7. And although Ivanchuk's pieces are, well, they are pretty much undeveloped. The bishops are still on the starting squares, the rooks are also on the starting squares, the queen and two knights are developed, but they're not really doing anything. But still, because Ivanchuk does have this massive pawn chain on the queen side, he does have a lot of resources he can use. He can push this, he can push this, he can push this, he can capture here. So a lot of ideas for Ivanchuk. Rook to e1. Rook to e1 is a move that Grandmaster Raymond Keane thinks that it's a waste of time. He suggests that maybe knight to h2 followed by f4 and the immediate f5 would be better, but actually the engine agrees with Kasparov. The engine considers rook to e1 a viable move for white. So c4, bishop to c2, and now knight to b6. We have bishop to f4, bishop to e7, and now bishop to g3. Rook to b8. You could even push b4 immediately, but Ivanchuk doesn't want to exchange rooks. So first he will prepare b4. Rook to b8. we have knight to h2. Now Kasparov will prepare f4. And here, again, you can push b4 here, you can go knight to a4, maybe pressure that b2 pawn, either force Kasparov to defend it, or maybe give up this very strong light square bishop. But Ivanchuk plays queen to d8, and queen to d8 is the strongest move recommended by the engine. As you can see, this bishop on g3 is x-raying the queen on c7. Also, there's a rook on b8 behind the queen, so you don't want to keep this here when the position opens up. So, queen to d8. We have knight to g4, and now b4. A captures, and here we have c captures on b4. Knight captures on b4, and now bishop to b1. And here Ivanchuk plays bishop to d7. Bishop to d7 is a move that avoids the threat of knight to f6. For example, if you castle here immediately, you get a knight to f6 check, and then you can't capture the knight, you have to move the king, and then the queen is coming into the game, because if you capture the knight, then you get pawn captures, and now the bishop is attacked, and also the rook on b8 is undefended. And if you try to stop everything, then you get bishop to d6, which kind of does seem like you keep the piece and defend everything, but the bishop captures, and queen to c1, and there is no defense for black here. You can't stop queen captures on h6 followed by queen g7 checkmate. There's no move black can play to prevent this. So after bishop to b1, bishop to d7, developing the bishop, and now the queen is also guarding the rook, so knight to f6 will not be a problem in the future. b3 by Kasparov, we have rook to a8, rook captures, queen captures, and now b captures on c4. Knight captures on c4, and now knight to c1. Preparing to remaneuver the knight, maybe to b3 to guard the d4 pawn, maybe even to c5 later. But here you will see how well placed Ivanchuk's knights are now. Here bishop to a4, attacking Kasparov's queen. Queen to e2, and now queen to a7. And now, if you look at this position, you can see that the pawn on d4 is attacked, and even though Kasparov has so many pieces surrounding this d4 pawn, there is no move he can make to actually defend the pawn. So here Kasparov tried knight to e3, but Ivanchuk simply grabbed the pawn. So queen captures on d4, we have knight captures on c4, pawn captures, and now queen to f1. There's really not much you can do here as white. Kasparov played queen to f1, probably because he already given up on the game. Ivanchuk castled, and here Ivanchuk castled on move 31, and it was in this position that Garry Kasparov resigned the game. So, yeah, I mean, quite a game, and quite some choices Ivanchuk made to develop his pieces, and it definitely did have some sort of a psychological effect on Kasparov, as he already played that poor maneuver with the bishop. He allowed Ivanchuk to really expand on the queen side, and he couldn't find a way to tackle this variation Ivanchuk played. So maybe if you play the French, maybe if you encounter this advanced variation of the Winawer, maybe you can try this b6 bishop to f8 idea. If it worked for Ivanchuk against Kasparov, maybe it will work for you. And I did promise the final standings, so here they are. You have Ivanchuk in first place. He won the tournament with 7 points along with Vladimir Kramnik. Then you have Ehlvest, Short, Kasparov, Gulko, Korchnoi, Yusupov, Lotier, Vaganian, and Timman in last place. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Edoardo Farinelli, Joshua Murphy, Vijay Kumar Krishnasamy, Gareth Beasley, and Donald Pattengill for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, hopefully with another interesting video. Maybe even the one where Nigel Short lost a game. I believe it was yesterday, because he forgot to press the clock. He had a winning position, he just forgot to press the clock, and he lost on time. So yeah, once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon.